What is up, y'all? Welcome on back to another review of Alien Earth. I am reviewing episode number 4 this week, Observation. This is a series that episode 3 really is where it picked up for me. I liked the first 2 episodes, but this last episode was so damn good. So coming into episode 4, I was pretty hyped for it. I wasn't sure where they were going to take this series, kind of have some ideas of where that story might go down the line. But with the last episode with Joe, with them implanting the embryo in his lung, didn't know exactly where that was going to go from there. So I'm excited to talk about episode 4 now. And with that being said, there will be full spoilers from this point forward. So if you have not seen episode 4 of Alien Earth, this is your chance to push pause, go watch it, and then come back once you have caught up. But with all that being said, let's jump into episode 4. So right out the gate, I want to spend some time talking about Boy Cavalier, and then we'll kind of jump into some of the other things of the episode. So Boy Cavalier turning into a full-blown asshole right out of the gate. I think this episode is really where we're starting to see that turning point of him being that mega corporation, just evil dickhead. He just completely disregards the fact that Wendy used to be human and just sees her pretty much as a product at this point. But despite the fact that he's an asshole, I did find it funny that at the exact same time, Boy Cavalier and Wendy both said that they didn't want to fix her hearing, and Boy Cavalier agreed, said deal, start the test. Nice little moment there to kind of bring some levity to that scene. But obviously, Wendy, being a child, wants to know why she was chosen to communicate with the xenomorphs. But Boy Cavalier has ulterior motives here. His curiosity outweighs everything, and basically whether or not he can take advantage of this. But he does mention that this might all boil down to the fact that he just wants to understand the xenomorph through and through. She suggests that they should never have cut open the xenomorph, and it was like this do unto others golden rule aspect to what she was implying. And he mentions that the xenomorph, if it had the opportunity to kill them, it would have done so. So it's definitely bringing up this, again, this golden rule. It's either them or me aspect to his personality and the decisions that he's making. But make no mistake about it, okay? Boy Cavalier, snake in the grass. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's planting the seed of Wendy. He's trying to convince her that Joe needs to go, but then he turns it around on her and just absolutely tricks her. He was saying all that just so she'd agree to try to decipher what the xenomorphs are saying. So again, Boy Cavalier, snake in the grass. I really think that we're kind of expanding and showing what he is as a character, or who he is as a character for the rest of this series, because we are getting the sense that Prodigy is really pulling that mega corporation bullshit, and where they kind of pull that same bullshit with Joe, but this time it was that the Adam guy. I mean, he looks like a butler, not gonna lie, but you can tell he's maybe like the second-hand man behind Boy Genius. Joe wants to quit, and then Adam threatens him that he will never see his sister again, and he's gonna have to pay for that lung that he now has. So Adam reiterates to Joe that he is the property of Prodigy Corp, and she is not human, and that Joe will never just take her home. So you either stay here with her, or that's it. This is that Weyland-Yutani type bullshit that just permeates through the entire franchise. The more we get of Prodigy and Boy Cavalier, the easier it is to hate him and his corporation. But in the best way possible, of course. And then speaking of the corporations, we do get a little bit of lore and backstory on these corporations that we've never gotten before. And we learn a little bit about how the government of the old Earth was just fucking terrible. It was shitty. They had so many problems on Earth, and they brought in 5 corporations, and apparently those corporations worked together and they basically fixed everything that was wrong on old Earth. But we got Weyland-Yutani, Prodigy, Threshold, Dynamic, and Lynch. So I really dig the fact that this show just sprinkling in that lore. And I keep going back to that interview that Noah Hawley did, where he said, there's surprisingly little lore out there to go on. So I really dig the fact that we are diving into some of the more obscure things, some of the things that we have questioned for years now in regards to this franchise. And they're kind of just sprinkling in a little bit of the lore as we go. Now, next up that I want to talk about Morrow and Slightly. We get a little bit different vibes here and different scenes with Morrow and Slightly. He put like a little communicator on Slightly's neck in the previous episode. I'm on the fence with the execution of the communication back and forth between Morrow and Slightly. On one hand, I think the guy that plays Morrow, great job. Okay. Yeah, he is doing a fantastic job with his acting here. His performance is just really great. And he's doing that where he's literally just talking to himself, but he's still commanding the scene and making his character that much more ominous and devious. But on the other hand, I feel like you lose something in terms of emotions when these characters aren't actually in the same room or same scene together. Like, I just get taken out of the show, and I'm just thinking the whole time, that's crazy that these two guys are just talking to themselves while filming this. I just pictured to myself them filming it and them just talking to themselves, and it completely takes me out of the show. And they edited it in a way that it's transitioning back and forth by fading in and out. This show has been doing that a lot, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. It does have like that 90s, 80s, 90s feel to it with the transitions fading in, fading out. To me, anyways. I don't think that I'm a big fan of it in this series. They do it a lot with like reflections, and they do it a lot with like in the first couple episodes where like Ice Age Sid was there, but he was like fading in and out. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but Morrow is definitely one of the most interesting characters in the show. I wish this episode just gave him, I wish it gave him a little bit more to work with in the scene, but he still nails everything, even when he's not in that same room as another character. The scene with him, Slightly, and then Slightly's mom, pretty tense. And then we have Kirsch listening in on that conversation back at Neverland. One might say he was observing, just saying, little pun there for you. But I do want to mention and shout out to the actor that's playing Slightly. At first, all of these characters that are the hybrids, I mentioned it in episode 1 that it was the one thing that was preventing me from really liking this show as much as I wanted to. And as we have kind of progressed through these episodes and through 4 of them, I think we are getting more of a sense of who these characters are and the personalities that they bring to the table. And I'm really enjoying not only Slightly, but some of the other hybrids as well. Like, we got a little bit more with Isaac in this episode, and he really wants to take on the mantra of being a scientist, and he kind of wants to be his own person at this point, which I think we're starting to see that be incorporated into the personalities and these scenes a little bit more, where these hybrids are becoming more self-aware. They want to be more human-like rather than synthetics. So we got Isaac wanting to really adapt that scientist personality. We have Slightly here. Again, great performance. He's playing that terrified young kid so well. He is really just selling that with every scene. So I think they're doing a good job overall with all of these hybrids, but Slightly seems to be the one that stands out the most. And then we have Nibs. If I was talking to you and you told me that this episode was probably your least favorite out of the 4, I probably wouldn't argue with you, but I also would question you on which part was your least favorite. And I would probably be willing to bet that the section with Nibs is really where you just weren't a huge fan of, because this is really the part of the episode that kind of dragged. And I don't know, it's a pacing issue or something along those lines. There's some stuff going on here that's really good, but it's just like those scenes just took so long to develop. And Nibs comes out of nowhere, and she's just saying she's pregnant all of a sudden. Dame, Arthur, both stunned, speechless, I would say. Arthur straight up calls her a machine and that she can't have babies. Nibs didn't appreciate that very much. Nibs has been acting pretty strange since that encounter with the old eyeball tentacle alien. She's exhibiting some anger issues, and she basically threatens Dame at one point in this episode. Now, my question is this a continuation of her kind of going off the deep end? Because she has that mind of a little girl. So is she going fucking crazy? Again, is it something to do with that alien? Or is this just the typical little girl behavior where, kids, they pretend they're pregnant all the time? So it's really strange. And I am curious to know where this is heading towards in the future. I'm going to lean towards her just completely jumping off the deep end here, but it would be very interesting if she had an alien actually embedded in her, and that's why she's saying she's pregnant. Now, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because they're hybrids, but I don't know. We've been playing around with the lore and the world of Aliens, so maybe they're going to change some things up here and give us something a little bit different. I am leaning towards the fact that she's becoming more self-aware, and these hybrids are just they're not doing well with their new bodies, and it's sending them off the deep end, so to speak. And speaking of the old eye tentacle bro, that scene with the alien and the sheep, pretty fucking dope. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was fucking good. We have good sound design. I appreciate the fact that they're taking their time to explore and experiment with some of these other aliens. I really love the horror vibes that sequence brings. The sheep just staring, cocking his head to the side, the score alongside with it. Dude, that shit was just plain creepy. And I really hope we get some more scenes with not only the eye tentacle bro and see what he's really capable of, but some of these other specimens, other aliens as well. And then the last thing that I want to talk about with the episode is the very end. So we get a better look at the life cycle of the embryo that embedded in the lungs of Joe. So it embeds in the lungs and then it comes out a chest burster. So I guess I never really just thought in depth of the process of the embryo or the life cycle of the xenomorph. So Wendy is standing there communicating, looking at the lungs, and then out comes the chest burster. And first off, I was originally thinking they were going to put that lung back in Joe. I don't know. That would have been interesting for sure. Xenomorphs end up taking the traits and the likeness of their host. So Wendy starts communicating with the chest burster xenomorph here, and it looks like a cobra, and she's communicating with it back and forth. She's touching the fucking chest burster, something we have never seen before. So what is going on here? Why is Wendy having a deeper connection to the xenomorphs than anybody else? And why is this one in particular more different? Is it because the xenomorph, again, takes the traits and the likeness of the host? It kind of got all that from Joe's lung, and maybe this xenomorph is kind of exhibiting those traits of her brother, and it's easier to communicate with it. I really can't wait to explore this further. I'm super curious. I don't know how I feel about it in terms of what this means for the grander universe of Alien, but right now it's piqued my curiosity, and I can't wait to see where that storyline goes and why she's able to communicate with the chest burster and the xenomorphs, and like what's going on there. I need to know more. But yeah, guys, I thought this episode overall was pretty good. It's not my least favorite. I think episode 1 still might be my least favorite out of the 4. I think 4 would probably be right above that. It's really just the section with Nibs. They had some interesting aspects to those scenes. It was too drawn out for me, and it kind of just dragged the episode a little bit more than I care to like. But really enjoying all these characters. Are finally starting to come into their own a little bit, and we're halfway through this season. So that's crazy, and I can't wait to see where this story goes from here. I think I have some ideas, especially with the corporations. I think Prodigy, I think Boy Cavalier, the hybrids, they're all going to just disappear from this timeline at the end of this series. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But guys, let me know down in the comments below some of your theories for where this story is going. Are you liking the series? How did you feel about episode 4? Let me know down below. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. And then make sure you hit that notification bell as well so that you know when I drop the next episode review for Alien Earth. I'm going to be uploading some movie reviews from earlier this year throughout the next couple weeks. And hopefully I'll jump back on the movie review train within the next couple weeks with some of these newer releases that I didn't get an opportunity to check out. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I appreciate y'all joining me for this review, and I will catch y'all next time on the next one. Laters.